Welcome to Lesson 3. Sometimes the data you need simply doesn't exist. Secondary data sources, surveys conducted by others, surveillance data, digital traces, may not answer your specific questions about your specific community. When that happens, you need to collect primary data. Today we'll explore how digital tools have transformed primary data collection. Mobile data collection allows us to gather high-quality data more efficiently, with built-in quality controls that weren't possible with paper forms. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to accomplish three objectives. First, design digital survey instruments with appropriate logic flows. This means creating forms that adapt based on responses, showing only relevant questions to each respondent. Second, implement data validation rules to ensure data quality. Digital tools can catch errors at the moment of entry, preventing problems that plague paper-based collection. And third, deploy mobile data collection tools in field settings. We'll cover practical considerations for using these tools in real-world conditions. Let's start with when you actually need primary data collection. First, when existing data doesn't address your specific questions. Maybe you're working on a unique health issue. Maybe you need to understand local nuances that national surveys don't capture. Second, when data is outdated. The world changes. A community health assessment from 5 years ago may not reflect current conditions. Third, when you need geographic or population specificity that secondary sources can't provide. National data doesn't tell you what's happening in your neighborhood. And fourth, when community voice and perspective are essential. Sometimes you need to hear directly from people about their experiences, concerns, and priorities. Secondary data can't give you that. Digital data collection offers significant advantages over paper forms. Real-time data validation catches errors at the moment of entry. If someone enters an impossible value, like an age of 200 years, the form can flag it immediately. With paper, you might not notice until months later during analysis. Skip logic adapts the form based on responses. If someone says they don't smoke, they skip all the smoking-related questions. This reduces respondent burden and prevents irrelevant data collection. Immediate data availability eliminates the data entry step. When collection is done, your data is ready for analysis. No transcription errors, no waiting. Multimedia capabilities add richness, capture photos of conditions, record GPS coordinates of locations, record audio for qualitative responses, and modern tools work offline. Collect data where there's no internet. The data syncs when connectivity returns. Good digital data collection starts with good questions. Use clear, simple language at an appropriate reading level. Avoid jargon. If your respondents include people with limited literacy, test whether they understand your questions. One concept per question. Avoid double-barreled questions like, do you exercise and eat healthy? Someone who exercises but doesn't eat healthy can't answer accurately. Ask separately. Response options must be mutually exclusive and exhaustive. Mutually exclusive means categories don't overlap. Exhaustive means every possible answer has a place. Always include other or don't know when appropriate. And consider cultural sensitivity and translation needs. Questions that make sense in one cultural context may not translate well. Professional translation and back translation are essential for multilingual surveys. Skip logic is one of the most powerful features of digital collection. Questions appear or don't appear based on previous responses. Here's an example. You ask, have you seen a doctor in the past year? If yes, you show a series of questions about that visit. What type of provider, reason for visit, satisfaction with care? If no, those questions are skipped entirely, and you might instead ask about barriers to accessing care. This reduces respondent burden. People only answer questions relevant to them. It prevents invalid data. You won't have responses to inapplicable questions that you then have to clean out later, and it creates a better experience. The survey feels tailored to the individual rather than one size fits all. Validation rules prevent bad data from entering your dataset. Range checks verify that values are within possible bounds. Age must be between 0 and 120. Blood pressure must be within physiological limits. If an entry falls outside the range, the form can warn or block submission. Consistency checks ensure related answers make sense together. If someone reports being pregnant, they shouldn't also have reported being male in an earlier question. The form can flag contradictions. Required fields ensure essential data isn't missed. Paper forms come back with blank fields that should have been answered. Digital forms can require answers before proceeding. Format validation ensures proper structure, dates in the correct format, phone numbers with the right number of digits, emails with the @ symbol. These rules catch errors at entry when the data collector can still fix them. Successful field deployment requires planning. Device selection matters. Tablets work well for many settings, larger screens than phones, but still portable. Phones work if tablets aren't available or for very brief surveys. Laptops might be needed for complex assessments. Assess connectivity. Will you have internet access in collection locations? If not, ensure your tool works offline and syncs later. Train your data collectors on both the technology and interview skills. Knowing how to use the app isn't enough. They need to know how to establish rapport, ask questions neutrally, and handle difficult situations, and always pilot test. Run through the survey with real respondents in real conditions. You'll find problems, confusing questions, technical glitches, workflow issues. Find these before full deployment, not after. Privacy and security require careful attention. Ensure your data is encrypted, both in transit when syncing to servers and at rest on devices and servers. If someone intercepts the data, they shouldn't be able to read it. Implement access controls. Not everyone on your team needs to see all collected data. Limit access to those who need it for their specific roles. Plan for device security. What happens if a device is lost or stolen? Can data be remotely wiped? Is there a password or biometric lock? An informed consent remains essential. Explain clearly to respondents what data you're collecting, how it will be used, who will have access, and how it will be protected. Digital collection doesn't change the ethical obligations, it just changes the medium. Many platforms are available for digital data collection. Open source options offer lower cost and community support. You're not locked into a vendor, but you may need technical capacity to set up and maintain the system. Commercial platforms typically offer more features and dedicated support. You pay for convenience and reliability, but costs can add up, especially for large-scale projects. When choosing, consider cost, not just licensing, but training and support, ease of use. Will your data collectors be able to learn it quickly? Offline capability, essential if you're working in areas without reliable connectivity. And data ownership, where does your data live and who has access? There's no one right answer. Match the tool to your specific needs and resources. Let's summarize our key takeaways. Primary data collection is needed when secondary sources don't answer your specific questions, are outdated, or lack needed specificity. Digital tools offer powerful advantages: real-time validation, skip logic that adapts to respondents, and immediate data availability without transcription. But technology doesn't replace fundamentals. Good question design remains essential. Clear, simple, unbiased questions are the foundation of good data. Field deployment requires careful planning, device selection, connectivity assessment, thorough training, and pilot testing. And privacy and security protections are essential, not optional. Digital data can be valuable, and valuable data requires protection. In our next lesson, we'll explore asset mapping and capacity assessment, shifting from problems to strengths. Thank you.